You know, when you get your payslip, you see your salary, right? But what about all the other stuff, the benefits that are kind of hiding in plain sight? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the powerful financial safety net that is legally part of your job. These are protections designed to have your back through life's biggest moments. And that's a really important question, isn't it? When life happens, thinking about retirement, having a baby, or maybe just switching jobs after a long time, is your job contract really all there is? Well, the good news is the law says there should be a lot more, and we're about to break down exactly what that means for you. All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get a handle on this whole idea of a workplace safety net. Then, we're diving into 3 absolutely critical laws. The Provident Fund, which is all about setting you up for the future, maternity benefits for when your family grows, and the Gratuity Act, which is basically a reward for your loyalty. And then we'll wrap it all up with why knowing this stuff is a total game changer.
So let's start with this idea of a safety net. What is it really? It's not just some nice little perk your company might offer. No. This is a legal framework, a whole set of laws built specifically to give you Social Security and support throughout your entire career.
We're going to zoom in on 3 landmark laws that are basically the pillars holding up your financial security at work. They cover you for retirement, they've got your back when you start a family, and they reward you for your long-term service. So let's kick things off with that first pillar, planning for what's ahead. All right, first up, future-proofing your life. We're talking about the Employees' Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act of 1952. This thing is the absolute cornerstone of long-term financial planning for millions and millions of employees across India. So let's get right to it. What is the Employees' Provident Fund, or EPF? I mean, a lot of us see it coming off our salary every month, but what is it actually for? Well, think of it this way. The EPF is basically a mandatory savings plan. It's a Social Security scheme, and its number one goal is to help you build a really solid nest egg for your post-retirement life. It's all about making sure you're financially stable once you finally decide to hang up your work boots. So how does this actually work? It's pretty cool, actually. A piece of your salary gets put into the fund. But then, and this is the best part, your employer is legally required to put in the exact same amount. Just think about that for a second. You're not saving alone. Your employer is literally doubling your retirement savings every single month. And all that money is managed by a government body called the Employees Provident Fund Organization, or EPFO. And here's something a lot of people miss. This act is way more than just a savings fund. It's like a 3-in-1 safety net. You've got the Provident Fund itself for that big lump sum payout when you retire. Then there's the pension scheme, which gives you a steady income later in life. And on top of all that, there's an insurance scheme that provides life insurance coverage for your family. It's the whole package. Okay, moving on to our next pillar. This is a law that really supports employees during one of the biggest moments in life, starting a family. We're talking about the Maternity Benefit Act of 1961, which is such a critical support system for working women. 26 weeks. Let that number sink in. This is the key number, and it's one of the most progressive policies out there. Under this act, most women employees get 26 weeks. That is half a year of fully paid leave for their first 2 children. It's a fundamental right designed to protect the health and well-being of both the mother and the new baby. And it's not just about the paid leave either. The act packs in a bunch of other protections. There's a one-time medical bonus of at least 3,500 rupees if your employer doesn't provide medical care. The law also gives you 2 nursing breaks a day, 6 weeks of paid leave if there's an unfortunate miscarriage, and for bigger companies, they even have to provide a creche facility. Now, this next part is absolutely crucial. We're talking about job security. Section 12 of the Act makes it flat out illegal for an employer to fire a woman because she's pregnant or because she's taking her maternity leave. This is such a powerful protection against discrimination. All right, on to our third and final pillar, the Payment of Gratuity Act, 1972. This law is all about rewarding employees who've shown real long-term commitment to a company. Think of it as a loyalty bonus, but one that's written into law. You've probably heard this word gratuity thrown around, but what does it actually mean? What is it in a legal sense, and more importantly, in a financial sense, for you? Okay, so gratuity is basically a legal thank you note from your employer, but written in cash. It's a lump sum payment that you are entitled to after you've put in long and continuous service. And let me be clear, this isn't some discretionary bonus they can choose to give you. If you qualify, it is your legal right. So, how do you know if you're eligible? It's actually pretty straightforward. First, the law applies to places like factories, mines, shops, or any company with 10 or more employees. And second, you have to have completed at least 5 years of continuous service with that same employer. Okay, I know what you're thinking. A formula. But don't worry, it's not as scary as it looks. The logic is simple. For every year you've worked, you get paid for 15 days. So the calculation takes your last salary, that's your basic pay plus dearness allowance, multiplies it by how many years you worked, and then uses that 15 over 26 fraction to figure out the final amount.
Now, there is a cap you should know about. After an update in 2018, the absolute maximum amount of gratuity that can be paid out under this act is capped at 20 lakh rupees.
All right, let's bring it all together. We've gone through the Provident Fund, maternity benefits, and gratuity. And understanding these things isn't just some boring legal exercise. It's about empowering yourself. It has a direct impact on your financial life and security. And you know, it's so important to stay on top of this stuff because the law itself doesn't stand still. For instance, India has just done this massive reform, taking 29 old labor laws and combining them into 4 modern codes. And the whole point of that? To make these protections simpler and stronger for employees just like you. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Knowledge really is power. The Provident Fund, the maternity benefits, gratuity. These are not just nice perks. They are your legal rights. And understanding them is the absolute first step to making sure you and your family get the financial security that you are entitled to. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Are you really making the most of your rights at work? It's definitely worth looking into. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.